Did you know there are some R&B groups who were forgotten after one hit? From Groove Theory, whose hit, Tell Me, reached number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 3 on the R&B chart in the U.S., to the Bobbettes, who made history with Mr. Lee before disappearing from the charts. Here are 20 R&B groups who were forgotten after just one hit. Coffee Brown. Coffee Brown is an American R&B and neo-soul group made up of two singers, Ryan Lane and Vernell Sales. But the group didn't start out this way. In the beginning, it was Vernell and a male singer named Falante Moore. They were discovered by producer KG and RL from the group Next. After that, they signed a record deal with Arista Records. Coffee Brown's only album, Mars/Venus, came out on March 6, 2001. The single, After Party, reached number 44 on the Billboard Hot 100. The album itself did better on the R&B chart, climbing to number 7, and it peaked at number 32 on the overall Billboard 200. Their most popular songs were After Party and Weekend Thing, but just before their debut album came out, the group broke up. KG later spoke about it in an interview, explaining what happened behind the scenes. He said that the group didn't get along well even before their debut album, and this contributed to the label's reluctance to heavily promote them. Years later, in 2023, Coffee Brown made a comeback. This time, Vernell returned, but Fonz was no longer part of the group. Ryan Lane stepped in as the new male vocalist. Then, in 2024, the new version of the duo officially reunited and started releasing music again. They dropped a remake of Keith Sweat's Make It Last Forever, along with 2 new songs, About It featuring Vinrock and Simple Things. These tracks are expected to be part of their upcoming EP, which is set to drop later this year. The Sand Pebbles. The Sand Pebbles were an American R&B group made up of 3 singers, Calvin White, Andrea Bolden, and Lonzine Wright. They started out recording music with Cala Records and found success with a song called Love Power. That song became a big hit in the U.S., reaching number 14 on the Billboard Black Singles chart in 1967 and number 22 on the Billboard Hot 100 the following year. Even though Love Power was their biggest hit, it wasn't their only song to make the charts. Before that, they released Forget It, which did pretty well too. It climbed to number 10 on the Billboard R&B chart and number 81 on the pop chart in 1967. Another one of their songs, If You Didn't Hear Me the First Time, I'll Say It Again, with the B-side Flower Power, was also released in the UK on a label called Toast. In 1968, the group left Cala Records and signed with another label called Cotillion. Because of legal issues, they had to change their name to Sea and the Shells. Under this new name, they continued making music and even worked with producer Jerry Williams. In 1969, they had a minor hit with You Are the Circus, which reached number 28 on the R&B chart. By 1970, they moved to a much smaller label called Zanzee, but none of their songs found success there. A few years later, in 1973, the group officially broke up. Divine. Divine was an American R&B girl group that started in 1995. They're best known for their hit song Lately, which came out in 1998 and became a big success. The group was made up of 3 young women, Kia Thornton, Nikki Bratcher, and Tonya Tash. Even though they were from different cities in New York and New Jersey, they were brought together by 2 managers, Nathan Garvin and Jillian Manigat, to form a group. At the time, Lately became a hit. Kia was just 17, while Nikki and Tonya were both 18. Divine also recorded a cover of George Michael's song One More Try, but nothing else they released matched the success of Lately. Unfortunately, the group didn't last very long. They broke up in 2000, mainly because of legal problems. Their management hadn't properly filed a trademark for the name Divine, which led to a lot of trouble, including issues with releasing music, getting radio play, and planning tours. On top of that, Kia and Nikki wanted to change their image and move away from the sweet, innocent style the group had become known for. These problems, both legal and personal, eventually led the group to call it quits. Groove Theory. Groove Theory was an American R&B duo made up of singer-songwriter Amel Larrieux and producer Bryce Wilson. The group started in New York City in 1993. At the time, Amel was working as a receptionist at Rondor Music, a publishing company she had joined when she was just 18 years old. That's where she met Bryce, and the two decided to make music together. They eventually signed a deal with Epic Records and released their first album, Groove Theory, in 1995. The album included their biggest hit, Tell Me, which became a gold-selling single. The song reached number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 3 on the R&B chart in the US. It also made it to number 31 on the UK singles chart. Other songs from the album, like Baby Love and Keep Trying, also charted on the R&B list, though they weren't as big as Tell Me. The album itself did well enough to be certified gold. In 1999, Amel left the group to focus on her solo career. She was replaced by Makeda Davis, a singer and songwriter who had already done background vocals and writing for artists like K-Sai and JoJo and Emil. With Makeda, Groove Theory signed a new deal with Columbia Records and worked on a second album titled The Answer, which was supposed to come out in 2000. But things didn't go as planned. Bryce wasn't happy with how Columbia was handling urban music at the time, so he asked to be released from the label. As a result, the album never came out. Only one song from that project, For Sure, was officially released, but it didn't make a big impact on the chart. Cut Close. Cut Close is an American R&B girl group that started in Atlanta, Georgia. The group was made up of 3 talented singers, Athena Cage, LaVon Battle, and Tabitha Duncan. Their big break came when they were discovered by R&B singer Keith Sweat, who believed in their talent and helped produce their music. In 1995, Cut Close released their first album called Surrender. They dropped 3 singles from that album, Surrender, Lovely Thing, and I Like. Out of the 3, I Like was the standout hit. It climbed to number 6 on the US R&B chart and reached number 34 on the Billboard Hot 100. The album itself did well too, peaking at number 12 on the Billboard R&B Albums chart. The group also worked closely with Keith Sweat after their debut. They sang with him on his 1996 hit, Twisted, and Athena Cage was featured on another one of his big songs, Nobody. In 2007, the trio joined him again for his Sweat Hotel live project, performing together on stage. Years later, in 2010, Cut Close tried to make a comeback. They released a new song called Let It Ring on iTunes to build buzz for a possible second album, though the album never came out. As Yet. As Yet is an R&B group from Philadelphia that got their start back in 1989. It all began with 2 members, Sean Rivera and Dion Allen. Later on, they met Kenny Terry, who was singing in the lobby of the Wyndham Hotel in Philly, and they invited him to join. Soon after, more members came on board, including Claude Thomas, Ali Hyman, Damon Core, and Daishan Benson, forming the full group. In 1996, As Yet released their first album, As Yet, under LaFace Records. The album had some big names helping out, like producers David Foster and Babyface, and artists like Sheila E. and Brian McKnight. Their debut single, Last Night, became a huge hit. It reached number 9 on the US Billboard Hot 100, number 1 on the R&B chart, and also top charts overseas, hitting number 2 in Australia and staying at number 1 for 2 weeks in New Zealand. The song went platinum in the US. Their next single, a cover of Chicago's Hard to Say I'm Sorry, featuring Peter Cetera, was just as successful. It reached number 8 on the Hot 100, went platinum, and was even nominated for a Grammy for Best R&B Performance by a duo or group with vocals. Thanks to the success of those two songs, their album also went platinum. With their rising fame, As Yet made several TV appearances in the late 90s. They performed live on shows like The Keenan Ivory Wayans Show, All That, and Soul Train. Although the group has continued to make music over the years, their last appearance on the Billboard Hot 100 was back in 1997. Ghost Town DJ. Ghost Town DJs was a hip-hop and Miami-based group from Atlanta, Georgia. The group was made up of DJ Demp, Rodney Terry, Greg Street, and Keto. It was Rodney Terry who started the group, drawing inspiration from the fast, dance-heavy sound of Miami bass music that was big in the 1980s. When they were working on their most famous song, My Boo, the plan was for a singer named Akima Johnson Day to do the lead vocals, while another singer, Virgo Williams, would do background vocals. But when Akima couldn't make it to the recording session, Virgo stepped in and sang lead instead, and her voice became the one that millions would later recognize. Around that time, a young Lil Jon was working as an A&R director at So Def, and he ended up as the executive producer for the track. The beat for My Boo was co-produced by Rodney Terry and Carl Mahone, and it was actually the second version of the beat they had made. That same year, the group released two albums, Ghetto Bass Beats and Frantic, but strangely, My Boo wasn't included on either one. Instead, it was featured on a Various Artists album called So Def Bass All-Stars, which became the unofficial home for the hit. My Boo came out in 1996 and quickly became popular, especially on Miami radio stations like Y100 and Power 96. The song peaked at number 31 on the U.S. Billboard Hot 100. Then, out of nowhere, the song made a big comeback in 2016 when it was used in the Running Man Challenge, a viral dance meme that started on Vine. Public Announcement. Public Announcement is an American R&B group that first rose to fame in the early 1990s. They became known after joining forces with R. Kelly in 1991, right after he let go of his former group, MGM. Together, they released a few hits that helped put them on the map. In 1999, the group dropped a song called John Doe from their upcoming album Don't Hold Back, which was supposed to be released on Epic Records. The song got a little attention in the R&B world, but not enough to make a big impact. Because of that, the album's release was delayed. Then, in 2000, they gave it another shot with a new single called Mamacita. This time, they had more luck. The song climbed to number 39 on the Billboard Hot 100. After Mamacita gained some traction, John Doe was re-released and finally made it onto the Hot 100 as well, landing at number 95. They also released another song called Man Ain't Supposed to Cry, which became a top 40 hit on the R&B hip-hop charts. Over the years, Public Announcement became known for a handful of minor R&B hits like She's Got That Vibe, Honey Love, Slow Dance, Hey Mr. DJ, Dedicated, Body Bumpin', Yippee Yee Yo, and Mamacita. These songs gave them a solid place in 90s R&B, even if they didn't always top the charts. Today, the group still exists with 4 current members who continue to make music. While they haven't had mainstream success in recent years, they've remained active and dedicated to their sound. Rude Boys. The Rude Boys were an R&B group from Cleveland, Ohio, best known for their hit song, Written All Over Your Face. The group came together in the early 1990s and was made up of Larry Marcus, Melvin Cephas, and 2 brothers, Edward Lee Buddy Banks and Joe Little III. Their big moment came in 1991 with the release of Written All Over Your Face, the second single from their debut album, Rude Awakening. The song was written by group member Larry Marcus with some help on production from studio musician Jim Salamone. It became their signature hit, topping the Billboard R&B chart for a week and reaching number 16 on the Billboard Hot 100. The smooth vocals and emotional lyrics helped the group make a strong name for themselves in early 90s R&B. But after that hit, things got quiet. The Rude Boys didn't release another album until 1997. That comeback project was called Rude as Ever. Just by looking at the album cover, the hats, shades, and cigars, you could tell it was deep in the 90s era. But by then, the group had changed. Joe Little had left in 1994 to put out a solo album, and his spot was filled by Dwight Thompson. Unfortunately, the new lineup didn't have the same magic. The album didn't make much noise, and the group slowly faded from the spotlight. If you are enjoying this video, appreciate it by giving it a thumbs up, and if you have not subscribed, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button. Another Bad Creation. Another Bad Creation, also known as ABC, was a hip-hop and R&B group from Atlanta that made a big splash in the early 1990s. What made them stand out was their age. They were one of the first major preteen boy bands at the time. The group was discovered by Michael Bivins from Belle Biv DeVoe, who saw something special in their talent and energy. In 1991, they released their debut album, Coolin', at the Playground Ya Know, which became a big success. The album had hit songs like Isha and Playground, both filled with playful lyrics about school crushes and hanging out with friends. Their sound mixed the smooth beats of New Jack Swing with the lightheartedness of being young, and it worked. ABC was signed to Biv 10 Records, a label started by Michael Bivins under Motown Records. They were also part of a music crew called the East Coast Family, which included other rising stars like Boyz II Men, MC Brains, and later on, the group 702. In 1992, ABC joined their label mates for a group song called One for All for One, which showed off all the talent on Biv 10 Records. Even though their time at the top didn't last long, ABC had a major influence on the music scene. Their success opened doors for other young groups like Criss Cross, IMX, and even tougher-sounding kid rap duos like Illegal and Chronic. Black. Black was an American girl group that made a name for themselves in the late 1990s and early 2000s. While fans in the U.S. knew them simply as Black, people in other countries like Canada and overseas knew them as Black Ivory. The group had a fresh sound that mixed pop, R&B, and hip-hop, and they quickly caught people's attention. Their debut album, Block, came out in 1999 and was a big success. It sold over 1 million copies and earned a platinum certification. The album gave fans some memorable hits, like the lead single 808, which also went platinum, I Do, and the popular pop anthem, Bring It All to Me. That last song became one of their biggest international hits and helped the group land on the 2000 Billboard year-end chart. Billboard also named Black the 4th best new artist of 1999. Over the next few years, they released more music, though none of the later singles reached the same level of success. Songs like Can't Get It Back, Ugly, and I'm Good, which was featured in the movie Honey, came out in 2002 and 2003, but didn't make a huge impact on the charts. Black spent the mid to late 2000s working on 2 new albums, but neither was officially released. In 2008, the group disbanded. They tried to make a comeback in 2012, but the plan was sadly cut short when group member Natina Reed died in a tragic accident. Years later, in 2019, the group's long-awaited 3rd album, Torch, was finally released through Black the Move Entertainment. Brownstone. Brownstone was an American R&B girl group that became popular in the mid-1990s. The original members were Monica Dobie, Charmaine Maxwell, and Nicole Gilbert. The group was formed in Los Angeles, where the 3 singers met each other while attending different auditions across the city. Their voices blended so well that they decided to form a group, and not long after, they were signed to Michael Jackson's label, MJJ Music. In 1995, they released their first album, From the Bottom Up, which brought them major success. The album featured the hit songs If You Love Me and Grapevine, both of which helped make Brownstone a household name in R&B. That same year, their work earned them a Grammy nomination and a Billboard Music Award. The group toured around the world and seemed to be on top of their game, but soon things started to change. Monica Dobie left the group due to health issues. It was said she had bronchitis. Later, there were rumors that disagreements between the members also played a role in her departure. She was replaced by Keena Cosper from Detroit. Over the years, other members joined the group as well, including Kimberly Wright, Raquel Roberts, and Tisha Brown. Despite the challenges and changes in the lineup, Brownstone pushed forward, but they have not been able to match the success of If You Love Me To. MN8. MN8 was a British R&B pop group that rose to fame in the mid-1990s. The group was made up of 4 members: KG, Kool-A-T, G-Man, and D-Tails. KG, Kool-A-T, and G-Man all shared lead vocals, while D-Tails was the group's rapper, stylist, and choreographer. They hit it big in 1995 with their debut single, I've Got a Little Something For You. The song was written by Oliver Smallman and Mark Taylor and produced by Dennis Charles and Ronnie Wilson. It became a huge hit not just in the UK, but across Europe, Asia, and even in the United States. It was also one of the first songs ever remixed by P. Diddy during his early days at Bad Boy Records. In the UK, I've Got a Little Something For You became Columbia Records UK's first homegrown top 10 hit in over 10 years. It reached number 2 on the UK singles chart, just behind Celine Dion's Think Twice, which held the top spot for 7 weeks. Still, MN8's single ended the year as one of the best-selling songs in the UK. After their big debut, MN8 continued to release music and had 6 more minor hits in the UK, including If You Only Let Me In, Baby It's You, Tough Act to Follow, Dreaming, Pathway to the Moon, and a cover of Surface's Happy. Their first album, To the Next Level, reached number 13 on the UK Albums Chart and included work from producers like Pamela Shane. Over time, MN8 worked with some big names in the music world, including P. Diddy, Arthur Baker, Steve Silk Hurley, Dalvin DeGrate from Jodeci, and O.G. Pierce. In 1997, the group parted ways with their record label, Sony/Columbia, and First Avenue. After that, they teamed up with a French promoter named Gérard Drouot and went on tour in France in 1997 and 1998. When the tour wrapped up at the end of 1998, the members decided to take a break and explore other paths. Lucy Pearl. Lucy Pearl was a short-lived but powerful R&B group formed in 1999. It was made up of 3 well-known artists: Raphael Saadiq, who had just left his group Tony Tone, Dawn Robinson, a former member of En Vogue, and Ali Shaheed Muhammad from A Tribe Called Quest. The idea started with Saadiq. After stepping away from Tony, he reached out to Muhammad first, then to Robinson, to see if they wanted to form a new supergroup. They agreed, and just like that, Lucy Pearl was born. In May 2000, they released their first and only album, Lucy Pearl. The lead single, Dance Tonight, came out a few months earlier in March and quickly became a hit. It made it into the Billboard Hot 100's top 40 and climbed to the top 5 on the R&B chart. It even got a Grammy nomination for Best R&B Performance by a duo or group. The album did well too. By August, it was certified gold in the US. Their second single, Don't Mess With My Man, was released in September 2000 and found success mainly outside the US. But by October, things started falling apart. Dawn Robinson left the group, and after releasing their last single, You, the group officially broke up in late 2001. After the breakup, both Saadiq and Robinson continued performing Lucy Pearl songs during their solo shows. In 2009, there was an attempt to bring the group back together, but it didn't work out. Ali Shaheed Muhammad ended up suing Saadiq, and Robinson refused to return due to past issues, including a fallout over the original album's delay, which she said caused her to lose her home. She also claimed that Saadiq had been jealous of her and Muhammad, which made working together difficult. In 2020, Robinson explained that from the beginning, Lucy Pearl was only supposed to be a one-album project. Once the album and tour were done, the group had already agreed to part ways. ATL. ATL was an R&B group from Atlanta, Georgia, made up of 4 members: Trey Cass Sims, Marvin Williams, Lawrence Gibbs, and rapper Corey Griffin. The group came together after a local talent search in Atlanta. What made ATL stand out was that they were more than just singers. They were a full blend of R&B and hip-hop. Instead of only featuring rappers or guest artists on their tracks like other groups at the time, ATL brought the hip-hop element directly into the group through Danger, their in-house rapper. Their debut album, The ATL Project, came out in July 2004. Before that, they released their first single, Calling All Girls, in 2003, which was produced by R. Kelly. The song did well in the UK, reaching number 12 on the charts. Their second single, Make It Up With Love, also found success, landing at number 21 on the UK charts in August 2004. Even though their album had some buzz, ATL didn't manage to break through in a big way. By 2006, several of their songs started leaking online, including titles like All Grown Men, Throwback, In the Club Tonight, featuring Jagged Edge, and Do It, featuring UK rapper Dr. However, by the time fans heard these tracks, they were already outdated, and most of the music had been recorded years earlier. Eventually, ATL broke up. According to Lawrence Gibbs, each of them moved on to work on their own solo projects. Portrait was an R&B and hip-hop group from Los Angeles, California. The group started in the early 90s and was made up of 4 members: Michael Angelo Salisbury, Irving Washington III, Eric Kirkland, and Philip Johnson. They came onto the music scene in 1992, just as the new jack swing style of R&B was starting to fade. But they still made a strong impact. Their first big moment came with their debut single, Here We Go Again. The song sampled Michael Jackson's smooth track, I Can't Help It, and quickly climbed the charts. It reached number 11 on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 3 on the R&B chart in early 1993. Their second single, Honey Dip, also did well, landing in the R&B top 20. During 1993 and 1994, Portrait lent their voices to movie soundtracks, like Addams Family Values and Blankman. They were also part of the group Black Men United, which sang You Will Know for the Jason's Lyric soundtrack. In 1995, Portrait worked with legendary producer Quincy Jones, singing background vocals on his track Slow Jams, which featured Babyface and Tamia on lead vocals. That song reached number 68 on the Billboard Hot 100. The same year, the group released their second album, All That Matters. While it didn't perform as strongly as their debut, it still gave fans a few solid tracks. I Can Call You reached number 22 on the R&B chart, and their version of How Deep Is Your Love by the Bee Gees made a brief appearance on the Hot 100. After some time away from the spotlight, Portrait returned in 2018, this time as a trio. Michael Angelo Salisbury and Philip Johnson came back, joined by new member Ruben R.C. Monge, who had been the lead singer of the R&B group Po Broken Lonelies. Moke and Steph. Moke and Steph was an R&B girl group from Los Angeles that made waves in the mid-1990s. The group's name came from the first parts of each member's name, Monifa, Kenya, and Stephanie. They started singing together in 1994 and stayed active until 2000. Their big break came by chance. One afternoon, they were hanging out at the office of 2 music executives, Greedy Greg Jesse and Anthony Lewis, who ran Outburst Records. A rapper named AMG was there freestyling with some local artists, and the Moke and Steph girls decided to join in, not with rapping, but by singing. Their voices caught everyone's attention, and just like that, the trio had a serious shot at music. Soon after that moment, they officially formed the group and signed with Outburst Records, which was connected to the famous label Def Jam. They started working on their debut album and released As Is in 1995. Their first single, He's Mine, became a huge hit. It climbed all the way to number 7 and on the Billboard Hot 100, and even made a brief appearance on the UK charts. The song's catchy chorus and message about a woman holding on to her man, despite the drama, made it a favorite among fans. Unfortunately, their second single, Sex in the Rain, didn't do as well. It only reached number 41 on the U.S. R&B chart. Still, Moke and Steph kept going. In 1996, they had a song called Jockin' Me on the Fat Beach movie soundtrack, and in 1999 they released another track, He Say She Say, as part of a compilation album. But that song didn't take off, and the group struggled to keep their momentum. By 2000, Moke and Steph had officially disbanded. Special Delivery. Special Delivery was an R&B group from Washington, D.C. during the 1970s. Their sound was a mix of soul and traditional R&B, and they were part of the rich music scene in D.C. at the time. Some of the members had roots in gospel music, while others came from local secular bands. The main voice behind the group was lead singer Terry Huff, joined by Al Johnson, Norris Williams, and other talented musicians. The group signed with Mainstream Records and started to make a name for themselves. In 1975, they released a single called I Destroyed Your Love. While it didn't become a huge hit across the country, it did well in their region and climbed to number 62 on the Billboard R&B chart. Their biggest moment came in 1976, when they released their only full album, The Lonely One. The title track from that album turned out to be their most successful song. It reached number 11 on the R&B chart and even crossed over to the Billboard Hot 100, peaking at number 75. In 1977, Special Delivery tried to keep the momentum going with another single, This Kind of Love, but it didn't reach the same heights, only peaking at number 93 on the R&B chart. Not long after that, the group broke up. Even though Special Delivery didn't stay together for very long, its members continued working in music. Some went on to solo careers, while others joined different R&B and funk projects. The Persuaders. The Persuaders were an R&B vocal group from New York City, best known for their classic hit, Thin Line Between Love and Hate. The group first came together in 1969, made up of 4 men who had all been part of other local singing groups. Douglas Scott and James Barnes had performed in a group called The Internationals, while Charles Stodghill came from The Topics. The last to join was Willie Holland, who had sung with the Majestics. In 1971, the Persuaders signed with Atlantic Records. That same year, they released Thin Line Between Love and Hate, a powerful song about love turning into heartbreak. It quickly became a hit, reaching number 1 on the Billboard R&B chart and number 15 on the pop chart. The song was so big, it earned the group a gold record. Interestingly, when the song was first recorded, the group was still waiting for Willie Holland to arrive, so one of the co-writers and producers, Richard Poindexter, helped fill in on vocals. After the success of their debut single, the Persuaders released a full album in 1972 with the same title. The album gave them minor R&B hits, including Love's Gonna Pack Up and Walk Out. In 1976, the group tried something new and released an album called It's All About Love on the Calla label, with production help from Norman Harris and Robert Carrington in Philadelphia. One of the songs from that album, I Need Love, became a minor R&B hit. Later, in 1981, they released a final single under Brunswick Records, still with Douglas Scott as the lead singer. Sadly, none of the original members of the Persuaders are alive today. Charles Stodghill passed away in 1972, Douglas Scott died in 1994, and James Barnes also passed. Willie Holland, the last surviving original member, died on February 13, 2016. The Bobbettes. The Bobbettes were an R&B girl group from East Harlem, New York in the late 1950s. They first came together in 1955 and called themselves the Harlem Queens. All 5 girls met while singing together in the Glee Club at PS 109, a school in Spanish Harlem. Their big break came when they performed during Amateur Night at the Apollo Theater. A music producer named James Daly saw their talent, became their manager, and helped them sign a deal with Atlantic Records. In 1957, they released their first and biggest hit, Mr. Lee. It was a fun, upbeat song where the girls sang about having a crush on their school teacher. But in real life, the girls didn't like Mr. Lee at all. The original version of the song actually made fun of him, but the record label asked them to change the lyrics to make it sound sweeter and romantic before it was released. Mr. Lee became a massive success. It hit number 6 on the Billboard Pop chart and stayed at number 1 on the R&B chart for 4 weeks. This made the Bobbettes the first girl group ever to have a number 1 R&B song that also became a top 10 pop hit. The track even got so popular that years later, Diana Ross recorded her own version of it for her 1987 album, Red Hot Rhythm and Blues. Despite the fame from Mr. Lee, their later songs for Atlantic didn't do as well. One of their songs, I Shot Mr. Lee, was written as a follow-up to their hit, but the label refused to release it. So the group left Atlantic Records and moved on to other labels. Over the next several years, the Bobbettes released more songs. They later signed with End Records and put out tracks such as Teach Me Tonight and I Don't Like It Like That, which was a playful response to Chris Kenner's hit I Like It Like That. Although I Don't Like It Like That was their last song to chart, the Bobbettes kept recording music through the years with different labels like Diamond, RCA Victor, and Mayhew. Eventually, after nearly 2 decades in the business, the group officially disbanded in 1974. Which of these songs do you like today? Let us know in the comments section. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out our next video for more content.